Alright, everybody, it's our Clow here, and let's talk about the EgyptAir Flight 804 incident, which occurred last Thursday morning. That was May 19th of 2016, and obviously this is a very big story, still across all of the headlines as details continue to unfold as the days progress. And do notice that anytime we have a big story in which a plane goes missing, there tends to be a lot of speculation and controversy as to whether or not it was a genuine act of terrorism or if it was something incited by insiders or secret groups in order to further some sort of agenda. In this case, it would be clearly tied in with promoting the ideas of terrorism in the public consciousness, as well as the fear which accompanies that. And then, of course, all of the ideas associated with all the ways we could interpret that. But now, since I don't really see a definitive way to prove whether or not, this was genuine, quote unquote, or manufactured terrorism, I'm really not going to try to debate that idea. What I do want to look into is the information presented in the story as is, and then of course filter it through the occult research methods that I utilize. Now I will state that if in fact it was real, my deepest condolences of course to the families and loved ones, the friends of all of those who lost their lives, the 66 people on this plane. But it is important to note as well that the elite will absolutely capitalize on tragedies like this if in fact it is real, in order to convey information in stories that are very sensitive to people, and for folks like myself who go to interpret them anyways, are likely to receive a lot of negative feedback and responses for looking into the incident. And so again, whether or not it was real or manufactured, it is absolutely an opportunity for them to convey hidden messages, not only on the surface but also in a more hidden manner, which is what I tend to look into on this channel, again utilizing methods such as tarot cards and gematria. And so again, both ancient practices, and the latter dating back to Sumerian cultures. And so the baseline of it is that letters have numerical correspondences, and so the sums of various words and phrases is said to then represent a hidden layer of interconnectedness between various ideas, people, concepts, whatever, so on. And so be sure to familiarize yourself with these methods, with my other videos, because I'm going to be moving at a relatively quick pace here, and the scope on this is absolutely immense. And so there's a ton of information, and the more you understand about these methods, the more that you'll be able to glean from what I'm presenting. And again, there are countless ways of interpreting this. There is no such thing as an absolute when peeling back these layers, but there are very compelling cases to be made. And so do not dismiss this research as some sort of just, silly mystical art or magic or divination or whatever belittling phrase that you want to try to throw at it, because do remember the U.S. Congress right now is voting on a bill which would in essence make sure that this sort of research is taught on a national level and promoted through schools, alright? And so again, look through this bill, notice how it hails magic essentially as the keystone which has progressed humanity in every meaningful way. It is the only thing that continues to inspire us past the ideas of race, religion, culture, and so on. It's a very important bill, and I've done a lot looking into it, and it will come up again today. But so now let's look into this. Let's start with addressing this. Is from CNN. I had to pick an article from somewhere, and of course this is a very heavy hitter. And so since I'm going to be connecting this to all of the information I've been presenting about Sade, Erykah Badu, Beyonce, the high-profile assassination and the impending cataclysmic events designed to overturn all of the current social stigmas and conceptions of reality, the religious dogmas, all of that in order to make way for the new age of unity is going to be referenced heavily here. And so notice, just to start as a baseline, flight 804, if we look at that number in reverse, it is 408, which if we add to 804 is 1212. And so that's very important, because do notice on the right side of your screen here, that is the same English value for the Window Seat remix, which is the follow-up video in which to Window Seat, in which Erykah Badu was assassinated in Dealey Plaza and reincarnated at the end. This remix video then is her and Rick Ross going on a killing spree, and there's a tremendous amount of insight to be gleaned from that, so be sure to go and watch the videos on it. So notice as well, it is the same as the Sweetest Taboo, which was the Sade song that I showed you, the music video with all of the various bull horn deity worship references throughout, as well as her for some reason holding a gun and writing Timur, which is translated as fear, on the window at the end of the song. Again, all very bizarre considering what this song is actually about. And so notice back here now again, Anessa Wells is one of 3 authors credited with writing this article, and so I want to pick on her for a number of reasons here. And so notice this AW for her initials, the number 15 does come up right down below here, in this length for the video in between the 2 zeros. That is the devil card, so notice here that reduces down to 6, which is the Lover's card, the Great Work card, and the total number of letters in her name is 11. So we could then do 11 times 6, giving us 66. Again, very important, because that was the actual number of people on this plane that went down. And so do notice for CNN, it is reduced as 355, and we could take it down one step further, 3 times 55, giving us 165. So do notice that is the simple value for Anessa Wells also, but and it's of course, as you see, the same simple for Erykah Abbey Wright, and a number of other things. But what I mean to be showing you here is for 355, so that you can see here the connections to Nero Caesar, again this concept of Antichrist, as well as the bull. Now notice for this reduction here, this 165, if we're looking at the Jewish values for it, it is referenced to accident as well as all lies. Now the simple values, which we'll get into more, you do see United Nations, divide and conquer, as well as Scottish Rite. Now look back over to the left side of your screen here, because the values, the Jewish values for Anessa Wells are very important. I do want you to see the reference to power of 3. Again, remember the 3 authors for this article, as well as reference to the concealed mystery and 666 codes. Now notice here it gives us the date July 8th, and so I want to show you that date for a number of reasons, because I think it is coded in a few ways. So notice July 8th is July is the 7th month, and so that 7-8 is the number of cards in the tarot deck. And so again, immensely important. In the 190th day, we drop that 0. It's the Sun card, which I've shown you to be a very crucial centerpiece for all of this. Now do notice here I have pulled up for you this 190. It is the same as the formula of Enri, as well as rcloud 55, one of my old channels. But notice as well I have it from Exclusive Details, in which we were looking at the article from TMZ talking about the crane operator who had threatened to make the stage collapse on Beyonce. Now I do want you to see for 190 here, this simple value, you have reference to 111. And so again, just looking right up here, you see for TMZ staff, which is how all of their articles are accredited, the simple value is that 111. And again, all of the important things I've shown you with that, but do remember it is the same as formation. Again, notice the 666 over there. Now keep going, because you see for 190, the United States, as well as Rosicrucian Order. again, immensely important and influential. You then see reference to FEMA internment camp and the number 133. Now this is really critical to bear in mind here, because 133 is the same simple value as Erica Abbey Wright. That is Erykah Badu's actual birth name, and it is also the same as Window Seat, again, the video in which she is assassinated in Dealey Plaza. Now notice there, it is the same as Sandra Bullock, who I have discussed at somewhat length in her relation to the movie Gravity, and George Clooney, the only other actor in that movie, really will come up today as well. But notice the coding for 133. This is a hoax. Government. Book of the Law, right? Immense reference to Crowley there, as well as Salve Coagula, which is what is written on the forearms of the goat of Mendes. That is, was designed by Eliphas Levi, and again, immensely important. Notice here reference to mysteries, as well as nuclear accident and extinction, all right? It goes on. And so, back to the left side of your screen, though, notice for Anessa Wells, the numbers 1, 4, 3, 5. And so if we look into those numbers, it's very crucial, because you then see reference here to Secret of 36. And now, if your jaw did not just drop to the floor, be sure to go back and watch my previous videos in which I talk about this number extensively, its connection to Benjamin Franklin, the Truman Show, and so forth, alright? And so, all of that aside, let's move back over to the left here, and do notice now the English and simple values for Anessa Wells, that 990 and 165, immensely important. As I said, you see here a variant of Erica Abbey Wright, as well as Irvine, California. That is indeed where Anthony Kiedis was supposed to be headlining when he was taken to the hospital emergency. Again, I and C 93, and all the things I've talked about. But notice it is also the written out formula for Tetragrammaton, as well as a reference to page 35. Now that is a reference to Brave New World. That is the page in which they discuss the onset of the 9 Years' War in AF 141. Remember, in the Gregorian calendar is 2049, which is 33 years from now. Again, the number 35, very important, inverted. It is the age of Anthony Kiedis, and a number of other things I'll talk about when we get further into the video. But so, again, look here at all of these things that we discussed when we saw the 165 from CNN, Divide and Conquer, United Nations. But now, notice as well here, you have reference to 729. And so, again, I've talked about this immensely through the past set of videos. Notice here, it's what we get when we multiply 9 times 9 times 9, and the date of the year it is for 2016. I've gone about it extensively, but so notice as well, remember that is the same day that Erykah Badu's movie The Land is going to come out, and it is also the day that Beyonce is going to be playing at Commerce Bank Arena. And so why that is so important for a number of reasons, and it'll keep coming up in connections today. But do notice that it will be 94 days into her tour. Again, with the 7 added dates recently, she will be playing 49 dates. That's very important, that inversion there. It does reduce down to 13. That is the death card, and notice it is going to be 3 months and 3 days, that very critical 33 into the tour. So now, I'll talk about that more later as we go, because that date will come up again and again. So now, do notice here that the plane, Flight 804, was heading from Paris to Cairo, and very interesting to me because both of those cities have 5 letters in their names. I'll talk about those more later because there is a lot I feel to be hidden, but do notice you see reference to anarchy, as well as U.S. Capitol, cosmic horror, end of the church age, and dark spirits. So now, down below, the English and simples are the same as control freak, and that is is Erykah Badu's record label. Again, immensely important. Notice the C and F is 3-6, that important 36. Again, to reiterate, the 36 triangular number is 666. You do see down below here Mark of the Beast, as well as 44. Again, a very principal number in all of this. You even see if we reduce the simple value 1 times 44, it holds steady there. You then see reference to satanic hexagram. We get the written out number for 612. So again, me looking into these numbers here, it is just wild. The rate at which they are all here. Do notice it connects up with Iron Maiden and Gravity. All right, what I really want to draw your attention to, as well as Jeff Martin, who was the writer for the Simpsons episode, How Lisa Got Her Marge Back, which you will notice a lot of connections from today, which is very, very important to keep in mind. All right, so then now notice back on your left here, Open Third Eye, as well as Great Harvest and 170. And so I have 170 flagged aside for you there because I want you to see that it is the simple value for 642. All right, remember that is the number for the house resolution for magic here. And do remember I discussed that David Copperfield is mentioned 8 times in this bill, and that David Copperfield was the 8th novel by Charles Dickens, and all of the significance that I showed you buried in with that, and that novel was 624 pages. But so those same 3 numbers there, so having them pop up here, do see that you have reference to World War III, as well as the Church of Satan, divine bloodlines, HAARP, earthquakes, genetic engineering, and the number 74, again in reference to Tony and Susan, being Anthony Kiedis, and the weird writer for Erykah Badu's official fan site. So now let's jump back to the other side here, because I want you to also see that we have reference to unnecessary as well as spirit of life. And so now let's go back here. Let's look at a little more of this information. And so there's a lot that I could say about most any of this, but I want to, I guess, pull up first the fact that the pilot for this plane's name was Muhammad Saeed Shukair, and so I hope I'm pronouncing that well enough, but do notice MSS gives us 411, reduces down to 44. You do see that Jewish coding there for 66, again, the number of people who lost their lives allegedly in this incident, as well as the pale horse is riding nothing but lies and the satanic cult. Now, notice down below here, the English and simples, you do see a reference for September 11th. Again, that coding for 99 when you break it down. And you also see here written out 936. And so before I show you that, I guess we'll look at the fact that Revelation 18 is brought up in here. And I think I have it for you somewhere. Revelation 18 is Lament over Fallen Babylon. And so be sure to look through this, all of the stuff that's accompanied with it, all of the connections that I have shown you towards the notion of America absolutely being representative of the city of Babylon. And so let me get back up here so I can have all of this information ready to be taken a look at here. And so let's keep moving here. 936, that number I want to show you more from here. Do notice that when we pop it in, we get Unto This Day, which remember is from Austin Zamora, who was the crane operator who was going to bring that stage down, allegedly the whole story that was fabricated out of that. But do notice both his names, 66, all of that, but notice see Unto This Day. So there's Unto This Day, 936 being written out here. Notice 666. And remember at the beginning of this, when we were looking at Anessa Wells, 666, 666 codes. It is absolutely a stunning example of that for you. So notice as well, again, 33, you have reference to the very important phrase, as above, so below, as well as occult gateway. And then you see here, final curtain call. And then look at this number, 978 is popping up in here. So if we take a look at that, notice that is the same as Mayor Eric Hogue, the seventh seal, and used and abused books. Again, getting back to that Family Guy episode and all of the connections there. So notice, remember, Mayor Eric Hogue is not only mentioned in this magic bill back here, but he is very close with David Copperfield. And you need to watch my magic video if you have not yet, because the connections are stunning. Now do notice you see reference here to Obama gets headshot, all of these things, him rising to power, and you also see this number 878. So let's take a look at that. And what does it happen to be? Commerce Bank Arena. Here we are again, all right? And so very interesting. You do see science fiction is not fiction coming up in that, all right? So very, very interesting stuff. And remember, we did see that come up earlier. So now let's keep going here because there is still such an immense amount of ground to cover. I'm going to let you take a look at this bit right here because you can just read that and go through it. Now, let's take a look at what happens if we write out EgyptAir Flight 804. And I want to show you, because it is crazy that the Jewish value 1912 is the same as we are 138. And so again, all of the connections that I've shown you with this Misfits EP bullet, you see here the A side, we are 138, and all of the immense importance tied in with this. Again, I've gone over it a lot. Plan 9 records will come up again today, but absolutely a part of something much, much bigger. Okay, so now notice down below the English and simple values here. You do see the date, or the English value is 2016. And why I want to point that out is because in this phrasing you see the year of the Antichrist murder. All right, very, very stunning to me. Do notice here this 336. This did come up in that same crane operator video. That is a paramount piece here. But do notice that 33 times 6 gives us 198, which is the value of Frankfurt, Germany, which is absolutely where, let's see if we can get it up for you here. Which is where that Commerce Bank Arena show is going to be played. I don't know why I'm trying to find it like that. How about we type Frankfurt in? There can only be so many. There you have it, alright? So Frankfurt, Germany as the location of the Commerce Bank Arena show on July 29th. Again, you see how we come back and back and back. Now, notice here, this is very interesting because you see evil plot for world domination, as well as these variants. The letter X is the mark of Jesus, and the letter X is the mark of Lucifer, all right? Because remember that their names, Lucifer and Jesus, are both coded the same. So very, very interesting, all right? Let's keep moving here. Notice we're looking at EgyptAir now. Jewish value of 662, which if we reduce it down as 66 times 2 gives us 132. Again, the same as LaShawn Thomas, who we showed you in connection with all of this Sade information, but his coding directly with Antichrist, if I can get it to be pulled up here. So there's Antichrist, there you have LaShawn Thomas. Again, the double 6 from both of his names there. Very fascinating reference to another false flag, as well as shed blood for man, and so on. But so do notice here you see reference to the 19th letter and the date of September 1st. And do remember that is going to be the 245th day of this year. Again, tying in back to this Family Guy video with all of the She Is There information. Be sure to go back and watch that video. There's so much I cannot really reiterate it all effectively in a short period of time here. So do notice for the She Is There in 245, the references that I have written out for you there. You'll just have to take a look at it to go further, or go watch that video for more detail. But do see that number 121 is very, very interesting because it is again the same as Antichrist, and it does come up as Erica Wright. All right, again, just her first and last names, and they would give us that double 5 looking at them in that sense as well. And so it's very interesting to take it one step further when we consider the 77 information. And you know what, I'm not even going to try to pull that up right now since we're in the middle of so many other things here. Alright, so do notice for EgyptAir, the English and simple values, that 606 and 101, immensely important. I'll come back to that later, but do see that you do have reference to sorcerer, as well as the 1-1, that would be 11, lust card, number of points on the Cliffoth, etc., as well as graveyard. So now let's pop back over here at the actual pictures, because this is the information that is pretty critical here. So do notice that it departed from Paris at 1109. Again, number it's come up immensely, but 11 times 9, 99 at the core of all of this. Notice as well that it was 245 is when the search and rescue missions were activated, and again that 245 is coming up again and again here. But so now notice it does say that the last voice contact with the plane was made at 1:48, and then at 2:27 is when they had no response. And so let's break those down one at a time here. So notice here 1:48, that number is the same value as the path of none, and so that is representative of the death card, and we're going to talk about 1:48 more later because it's the same as Verizon Arena, which is where Badu will be playing on the 11th of June. Again, that 11 times 6, that's 66. Very important. All right, so now do notice that between 1:48 to 2:27 is 39 minutes, that inverted master thelemic number of 93, and then 1:48 to 3:15, which is when the plane was supposed to arrive. Got that for you right here. It is very important to note that that was 1 hour and 27 minutes, and that 127 is the same simple value as Danny Smith, who was the writer of the Family Guy episode that I keep referencing. All right, so very, very critical. Now do notice that the flight was supposed to arrive at 3:15. I could break this down looking at it in the sense of 1 and 5 is 6, so I have another 36 hanging out right there. But so do notice for 3:15 you have reference to the Antichrist planet Saturn, as well as regal magnificence of the 888, something I've talked about immensely. You then see here Skull and Bones Secret Society, as well as volcanic rapture eruptions. You see dissolution of manifestation and Texas murders of the innocent. All right, and so all of that tying back in. Now notice 2:27 is 48 minutes before the scheduled arrive time of 3:15, and so 48 is the same simple value as J. Adams. And so this is crazy because this is from the United Space Defense videos, the weird propaganda from the Army in conjunction with the release of the movie Independence Day. But so John Adams is, or J. Adams is what's on his name patch right here, if you really zoom in and look on it, but do see reference to evil, blood, hoax, XX, again either 6 or reference to the Aeon card, and you do see crime in there as well. So we can also take this name J. Adams, J the 10th letter, A the 1st, and look at it as 101, alright, tying it right into EgyptAir up here. And so do notice for 227, if we were to look at these values, you do see I see death, as well as he shall be killed. Now if we look at the English and simple values for it, it is very important to notice, and they're going to come up in just a second here, so I'm just going to scroll down. It's that 227 is inspired by Matt and Kim, and so remember that is absolutely how the window seat music video starts out, is with that phrase, Illuminati bloodlines, Antichrist calculator, truth behind the scenes, and 360. You want me to take that one step further for you, I imagine. So notice back here when we're going through all of this information, 227 is mentioned here, and then you have this bit about immediately turning 90 degrees and then 360 degrees. Again, with 227, that 360 literally being coded right in there for it. All right, so very, very interesting how that comes up. You also see reference to reveal the hidden truth. Notice as well just the 3, 6, 9, what we get from that, just like this 9 up here. All right, very important, and you could go on and on connecting these, but for the sake of time and how much I still want to go over here, let's jump back. And so notice here for 227, if we invert it, it is the number 722. And so now this is absolutely crucial because, again, we have reference to Danny Smith as well as my current channel name and George Clooney. So again, here you do see reference to leader of the Illuminati, Egyptian musician, as well as interconnected alphabet and magnificent 333, all right, which is when this episode that Danny Smith wrote here that I've looked into so much aired, when you reduce it down, and all the 333s I've shown you up into this point. All right, absolutely stunning stuff. So now notice one more time, if we want to break this down, 22 times 7 gives us 154, which is the same as the law of Thelema, the Antichrist, Earth space defense. Again, that commercial I was just showing you with Jay Adams, and a lot more that I'm going to keep getting into today as we go. All right, so now notice here, for 227, we can write this out and get even more depth into it here. I just want you to see for the English and simple values, it is the same as civil rights leader, as well as the UN is the NWO. All right, so notice here again the 888s and reference to the card of the Queen of Swords. All right, so I'm going to look at that here in just a minute, but notice as well subliminal message, see you in July, controls the media, as well as large hadron collider. Now, for the Queen of Swords, from the Book of Thoth, it's page 161, but do notice it is associated with the idea of clear, conscious perception of idea, and is phrased as the liberator of the mind. And so now, if we look into that phrase, the liberator of the mind, you do see execution, secret of secrets, fake apocalypse, and the bubonic plague. Now notice down here, and again, the bubonic plague, T, B, and P would be 227, just like the simple value here, just like the time the plane went down, connected again and again and again. But notice that same value as inspired by Matt and Kim. Everything that I just said there, sealed with 7 seals, Illuminati bloodline, don't accept the biblical mark, on and on and on. And so now, since we keep getting all of these Badu connections, it is only appropriate that we, of course, continue to look at the information that is on her page. And I know I'm about half an hour in here, so pause the video if you need to, because we're only about halfway through the information. So now, before I look into this CBS article from as talking about this EgyptAir incident, I want you to see that on the 16th here, and so notice that it's posted the 17th, but the event that this is from took place the night before, Monday, in which you have Erykah Badu performing Prince's song, The Ballad of Dorothy Parker. And so notice here this whole idea of transcending, but Erykah Badu and Prince right next to each other there. So I just want you to see that the phrase Erykah Badu and Prince has the same English and simple values. That would be 1080 and 180 as CBS News Bulletin, all right? And so there's that for you. You can see how it all breaks down. But so notice there the love of money, methods of madness, the master builder, signs of deception, that 444. Again, you can see there connected with order of Thelema, head mind control. You can even see here, like I was talking about earlier, how Jesus is coded the same as Lucifer, as well as the same as Muhammad, so on and so forth. It's very important to notice how those all carry the same values. Now, what I want you to see as well here is that this is referenced If I type it in like this, 1080 and 180, this coding comes up in the "It Could Happen to You" poster from the Truman Show. And so again, remember that I've talked about this quite a bit here, and sorry I skipped over the Queen of Swords card, but there's that for you there, clearly on the right there, and again, her holding a decapitated head in the left hand. So now notice here though, the "It Could Happen to You" and the connections to the Truman Show. Again, the number 36, that's the apartment he lives in, something that I've looked at in that video more extensively there. But so again, for the coding here, you do see constant reference to the Illuminati project, as well as Brotherhood of Darkness, a world of despair, alright, all of these things, abusive and cruel, and so it is absolutely critical to keep that all in mind, alright. So, but again, having that same value, the 1080, 180 as CBS News Bulletin. So with that, let's take a look at a CBS News Bulletin in which we're talking about the EgyptAir incident, obviously, and we see black boxes referenced as black boxes found and black boxes located. And so I'm going to talk about those two things and why I'm kind of so interested in black boxes. Again, it's interesting just to say that black boxes are both 5-letter words and both start with the second letter, so you have a 5-5 and a 2-2, which we could put all together for a nice 77. Alright, notice here they call them so-called black boxes, and if you actually like read through the articles, they mention them in just a very peculiar manner, as if it's just some bizarre kind of encoded way to be referencing the boxes. Alright, so in any case, jumping back down here, let's get into the coding for this. So as I just stated, there's the basic numeric breakdowns for black boxes, and I want you to see the Jewish value is the same for "Kiss Me, I'm an American." Alright, and so this is very important because K and M, that's 11, and 4, that 114, that 44, and again, I'm an American, 911. And so also just to bear in mind there the immense significance that that has on a coded level. Alright, so see, it's a secret, it's complicated, Lucifer is God, murder Obama. Alright, the English and simple values down below are the same as Sasha Fierce, Mike Will, Queen Bey, and 564 is the same J value as groupthink. Alright, and so of course Sasha Fierce being Beyonce's alter ego that she goes and performs under, Mike Will, the producer for the song Formation. So there you have a few ideas for that 564. And again, just notice that 94 coding, as it did come up earlier. Inverted 49 is the number of dates in Beyonce's tour now. Okay, so all of that very important to consider. And again, for the stuff with groupthink, it is the same thing in which both words are 5 letters, and there is immense connections there. Alright, so notice that you do have the fear hoax, the scheme of things, tarot/gematria, alright, all of these very important concepts. And so now let's keep going here because I want you to see for black boxes located, alright, one of the ways that that's phrased out, you see BBL is 223, just like Beyonce Noel Carter. Reduction for the initials there, it's an inverted 322, 3 times 22, 66. You see it all again and again and again. Now here's where this one gets interesting. You see for the Jewish value, it is in fact the 666. But here's what's so interesting about this one to me, is typically when it has just a repeating real on here, it is just the whole bit. But so do notice you see number of a man, Barack Obama front and center there, as well as purpose plan. But as you scroll through here, notice it then gets into this. After the word prophecy pops up, it then goes into this endless repeating loop of the gold egg of the aeon of Matt. Alright, and so again, that has come up in immense connections here that I've shown you throughout these videos, but very compelling to say the least. Now notice for the English and simple values down here, they are the same as Anthony Kiedis, Kiss Love Gun, Earth Space Defense, Ricky Smiley, and 38E. Alright, all things I've talked about immensely in the past, and again the 154 has come up several times in this video already today. Let me just pop this in here. So again, that was from the 22 times 7, the one that I covered in the beginning there. Again, that was the time that they could not get a hold of EgyptAir there. So then notice this, we went over the Antichrist as well as Queen of Babylon. You see the Law of Thelema as well as Lord of the Flies, and get your goat, all right? And so very interesting, because goat, God of all things, arguably a reference to the cover in which Obama was on the cover of Newsweek, and it said God of all things. He was in the Shiva pose. So, but do notice here the references for the blood of a goat, where it comes up. Judas be my guide. Mike Will made it, again the producer for Formation, as well as Tex W. Mars, and so on. All right, so be sure to look through all of that, because it's immensely important here. And now let's keep going here, because black boxes found, as I showed you in that screenshot, both of these simultaneously displayed here, so definitely conveying something. But do notice here that we get the 2, 2, and 6 from the first letters, 22 times 6, giving us that nice 132. And I love this because all three of these words are 5 letters. And now I'm going to talk about this in depth here in just a moment, but let's try to pull up this 132 here. Okay, so do notice it's going to be the same simple value as LaShawn Thomas, just to keep it on point with what I'm talking about today, and not making the scope too immensely huge there. But so there you do have the reference to hidden message, as well as the evil elite, the number 135, immensely important. And even if we were to look at that, because remember these are all anagrammic, because the values are the same, so long as those are all there, you do have those numbers present in the black box found, the 1, 3, and 5. All right, so very critical when you see those coming up, as there are an immense amount of possibilities for the numbers that can be present in places. So when you see patterns like that, it is not at all a reach to start saying that there has to be something connected. So now with this 555 and with this connection here, I do want to look back because there's something I haven't had a chance to